Okay, we're going to start now. I have Miss Fran Diggs and Mr. Michael Carlton,
Yeah, Michael Carlton Smith.
Mr. Michael Carlton with us today, and they're going to go over the topic of some legalities, legal legalities, and doing business in the entertainment field. So before I start that, everybody, I'd just like to go over a brief bio to introduce you to both of them. I'll give you a brief idea of what their part is in this program. Um, Ms. Fran Diggs is a 1998 graduate of the University of Baltimore School of Law. So she is a Baltimorean. Can I say that, Fran?
Uh, I went to school in Baltimore, but I'm from Annapolis.
Okay, close enough, huh?
Close enough.
Law with a concentration in public interest law. She previously earned a bachelor's degree of science degree in pre-law at Villa Julie College, renamed Stevens University. Francine's career includes serving as a law clerk to the Honorable Judge Clayton Green Jr. and practicing law for local and federal governments. Fran comes from the arts of entertainment company called Shindig. Well, Fran has a company called the Arts of Entertainment, a company called Shindig Arts and Entertainment, where she is a glass painter, abstract artist, art instructor, and art business consultant. She is a volunteer of the Maryland Volunteer Lawyers for the Arts, MVLA, serving as a lecturing attorney and providing legal advice to artists on trademarks, copyrights, and business and contracts. Thank you, my friend, for taking the time to come here and do that. And I know there's more on Fran's bio. For the sake of time, I'm going to move on. And this bio can also be retrieved in the beginning of the program when you see the first beginning of the program. Fran's bio is also listed there. Mr. Michael Carlton, on the other hand, is the founder and chief executive officer of the Carlton Music Group. He's an advocate for artists and musicians seeking careers in the music industry. As an artist management consultant, Michael helps artists and musicians increase their knowledge of the music business and gain bargaining power. That's going to be very interesting because that's one of the things a lot of musicians don't understand is the fact that they have so much power in their talent. And a lot of times it seems like they might even be taken advantage of if they don't know what to do and who to reach out to. A little bit more, Michael's diverse background starts in New York in radio, where he was a host and DJ for various shows in the market. He would go on to help launch the careers of many aspiring artists, including his own, as a member of the New York underground rap group Stronghold. So Mike, I'm going to assume you're a rapper.
I was at one point in my career.
You sort of look like a rapper, man. All right, Michael later branched out from music and served as a consultant to Discover Channel and the executive office of the President of the United States. We'll leave political jokes out of everything. I'm just going to move on with that one. Okay.
It's okay. It wasn't the current administration.
Oh, okay. Yeah, bro. That's a good thing. All right, Mike. Michael currently serves as a volunteer public policy advocate for the Recording Academy, where he helped pass the Music Modernization Act. His experience aid help in mastering the balance between creativity and business, supporting musicians from the studio to the boardroom. Thank both of you guys and welcome to the conference. I'm letting people in. I gotta, keep letting people who are knocking at the door in. So, hey, we are an organization that is providing information to folks, and people are always asking about business and legal advice, and a lot of times, like Dan was saying in his last meeting, I'm not a lawyer. Well, what do you know? We just happen to have one here with us today. Letting some more people in. Okay, so, and how important is it, and this is directed to both of you guys, how important is it for people to have their business and legal ducks in order when they're really serious about becoming a professional? in the entertainment field. I'll say entertainment because it can branch over to art. It can branch over to individual musicians. It can branch over to rappers. It can branch over to songwriters. So how important is it to have your ducks in order?
It's very important, especially if you're taking it seriously and you're looking to get an income and do it full time or even part time. If you're looking for getting a steady income from it, trying to get your name out there, building your business, you should make sure that you have your business entity created, all of your stuff in order as far as bank accounts, insurance, because once you start getting income in, you have to start paying taxes, make sure you have a tax ID, all of that. So the main thing is you don't want the IRS coming back to you as far as income. You don't want to be taken advantage of because you don't have a contract. You don't want to just jump out and deal with people that are already experienced in the industry and you really don't, know exactly what you're doing and how to walk the right way and negotiate the right way. So that's why you should have everything in order, but you don't have to do it by yourself. There are people out there to be able to help you.
And you know what, that question and that point right there sort of transition, and maybe Michael can jump on this one. What is the benefit? It sounds like from the very beginning, like Fran said, when you realize that you're serious about this, Mike, what do you think about this? What is the benefit of working with a music business consultant at that point? We know Fran's coming from the legal perspective, but before you even get into a point where you got yourself a group of guys and you're sounding good, one day you're going to need a lawyer, but now how important is it to have the proper counseling, to work with a consultant?
So I think that's a good question. And I don't think it's either or. You're going to need both. And the extent of needing both will increase as you move along in your career. So, I want to start off by just asking kind of like a question, but I'll give the answer for it. And when we're talking about why do you go into business, and somebody once asked me the question, why does the shoemaker go into business? And people said, oh, to make shoes, or because, they want to be able to work for themselves, a whole bunch of different types of answers. And the answer is the shoemaker goes into business to make money. The answer is anybody goes into business to make money.
So when you say business, you should be thinking money.
Yes. Now, you can be in music and not be in business, right? So you can be a musician and you can make music for the love of it, and you can go out and you can play and you can give it away for free, and that is okay, but it's not business, right? So now when you're thinking business, as Francine said, you got to have certain ducks in the row so you can make business, so you can make capital. And this is going back to the founding fathers being capitalists, right? They wanted to, basically leave England and make their own money, their own way, which is the reason why I know in the last session we talked about copyrights, and I'd like to talk about it a little bit later as well. But your copyright is not your first right, but it's a right given to you even before your freedom of speech. So that should mean something. So now coming back to me of why do you need a music consultant? And when would you use a music consultant and a lawyer? And what happens if you're in a band and you're trying to figure things out? So I think a music consultant, and to talk a little bit about a music consultant is similar to a manager. The difference is that a consultant doesn't get 20% of the artist's income, or the artist's gross income. The music consultant gets paid a fee, and it's for a short term. At least that's how I work. So I work with an artist maybe for 6 months to a year on a specific project, almost like a project manager. And it's a particular project. You get a particular result, and you move on. You keep everything you own. When you're working with a manager, you're probably a little bit further on in your career, or you want to work with a manager, or I should also say the manager finds that you're already making money so they can get 20% of something, as opposed to nothing, right? So you want to work with a music business consultant or artist management consultant, they call it different names, because in today's music business, it's really about entrepreneurship. It's really about small business and entrepreneurship. And what the music business consultant is going to know is it's going to know the different parts of the artist's management team, which includes a lawyer, and there's other aspects of it which I'll talk about as well. But when you're whether you're a trio or you're a band of a particular size, anytime it's more than one person, you want to work with an artist manager who is going to understand the needs of the group or even of the artist. And that artist manager is going to take you to a lawyer, and they're going to draft a contract, which is going to talk about how do you split royalties? How do you do split sheets? So basically, when you go to copyrighted music, who owns what percentage of the music? If it's 8 people, it can't be 33, 33, 33. It has to be 34, 33, 33. That's out of 20%. So there's a lot more I can talk on that, but I think that's kind of where that management consultant comes in, because for an artist who is either new in their career, doesn't have much impact in their career, or an artist that really just wants to keep as much money to themselves as they can, the consultant, the artist management consultant, is somebody who's going to come in, do that job for you, and then get out and let you keep the money.
Well, you know what, before we switch to go to I got distracted by an email that just popped up. Before we switch to go to LLCs and contracting, as part of the music consultant, are you guys also like an image consultant? Do you sort of kind of advise, or you see something that maybe they don't see in themselves? Like, you know, wear these Jackson 5 outfits. Don't wear them. You know, dress like Patti LaBelle and the Bluebells. Don't dress like that. So do you also kind of give them that as a consultant, or is that kind of out of your genre?
We do, to the extent that we can. So there are fashion consultants out there. So depending on how large the artist is, it may be beneficial for, you know, to bring in a fashion consultant to the team. But if it's somebody starting out, maybe it's their first show, or maybe they did 10 shows or 20 shows and they're not at the point where they need a fashion consultant, it is very much about their image. Actually, I was working with one particular artist who I think she wanted to be kind of, she had some weird genre she wanted to be, but she actually recorded under one of Dolly Parton's producers. So her music came out sounding country, and that's just what it was. And if she wanted to make money, it was best for her to target that particular audience. But she wasn't dressing that way. So it was really, okay, understanding your image and knowing that, hey, your personal life, you know, I think Vanna White actually talked about this on one of the Wheel of Fortune commercials. She says she wears jeans and cowboy boots and she hangs out all day. But when she's on Wheel of Fortune, you see her in all the nice gowns and stuff. And to that, we do talk about that when it comes to particular image.
So I'm a band, I'm a musician, I'm an artist, and I'm serious about all of this. I've come to the consultant. I've talked with the consultant. He's giving me some pointers on things I should do. And then he mentions, okay, since you have your own originals, you know, you're part of BMI, now you need to LLC, or do you need to put a contract together so that you can be properly protected? Fran, where do we go from the consultant perspective? From the consultant to the legal, what's next?
Well, as Michael said, his services will include the use of an attorney to make sure that those things are taken care of. Now, everybody goes straight to the LLC, the limited liability company, but that may or may not be the best way to organize your business. You know, as a musician, as a singer, as a songwriter, you are a business. If you're trying to do it for money, you're trying to make a living at it, you are a business. A lot of artists don't consider themselves to be in a business, but that's exactly what it is. And you need to operate it as a business.
So who sets up the business entities?
You would speak with your accountant. So that's another member of the team.
Oh my gosh.
Depending on what you are, how you're bringing in your money, how much you're bringing in, you could either be a sole proprietor, which is it's just you. You file your taxes and everything as you. You use your social security number. I guess you could get a federal ID number, tax identification number, but basically it's just you. You sing, you write. That's one way. Most people move to the limited liability company because, as it says, you have limited liability. So if someone comes after you for anything, tries to sue you or
Copyright infringements.
Copyright infringement, any of that, your liability is limited to the assets of the company. So that's why people go to the limited liability route instead of doing the sole proprietorship. Mm-hmm. As a sole proprietor, they can come after you and all of your assets personally. You set up the limited liability company, you could set it up in your name, or you could have a group. Some people have bands or organizations like that, and you name it whatever band or create the organization in your name under a limited liability company. They're limited to the assets of the company and not your house, your car, and all of those things that are not assets of the company.
I see. So this goes back to who are the major players of the artist team. So we have the consultant who might also be part of the image development. We have your accountant, and then we definitely have your law attorney representation. So that's the important parts of being a young musician trying to start, I guess, and making sure that they're on the right track.
Right. Those are only two ways to organize your business. There are other ways, S corporation, different ways, but you would speak with your financial advisor on that aspect of how you organize your business.
So the accountant is probably as equal as a lawyer having legal representation, or law comes first. I always feel better when I have a lawyer in my pocket.
It just depends if the attorney is a tax attorney or a business attorney. They may be able to advise you on both. But if you don't have someone who can advise you on both, have an attorney, have an accountant.
Yeah, the accountant is also called the business manager, and what they also do, they manage your money. So you don't necessarily, so it's all about when you need the service, right? So you might go to a lawyer, have them draft up a contract with the group, and then you don't necessarily need the lawyer until you go sign a label deal again. A music and artist management consultant, you may need the person to kind of figure out how to do split sheets, and then you don't need the person again, until you do.
Right.
You may be further on in your career, and then you might need a manager to be there the whole time. Another person that we forgot to talk about is the road manager. So when you start touring, again, if it's a 3-piece band, you might be able to do it all by yourself, throw it in the back of the truck and keep going. But you might need somebody to kind of help out with that as your band grows or as you get more gigs. And then, I can't remember the name of the person, booking manager. So the booking manager is also a little bit different because in some states such as California, you have to have a brick and mortar business, and you have to be licensed as a booking manager. So when you're starting out, again, you can, do some of it on your own. But as you get bigger, you may need to use the services of a booking manager to get larger venues. And then also in some states, your manager, the artist manager and the booking manager cannot be the same person. Actually, there's been, I can't think of the name of the bands, but there have been bands that got out of their management deals because the manager did both.
Well, you know what, you're hitting points that I wanted to bring up. I wanted to ask you,
Excuse me, can you repeat that last part of your sentence? Because the manager didn't do what? I couldn't hear you.
So in some states, such as California, the artist manager and the booking manager cannot be the same individual or same company. And there have been some bands, and I can't remember the name of the bands off the top of my head, but there have been some bands, some like high, well-known bands that got out of their management contracts because the manager did that, because the manager booked a show for them. So depending on where you live or where you're gigging at, you know, you may need to bring in a booking manager, or, you know, you may need to have other people on your team.
Good, Renee?
Thank you, Steve. Thank you.
Hey, you know what? I wanted to ask you, Michael, what's the difference between a manager and a music business consultant? I mean, you mentioned management in kind of 2 or 3 different formats, you know? So you're kind of titled as a consultant, you know, and I know you said that a manager is a little longer term. You know, he is somebody who sticks with the group a little longer. But booking, how many managers do you need? You know, I mean, just
one manager. And the way I sometimes I use terms interchangeably. So music, what do we call it? Music management consultant and artist management consultant, or music business consultant and artist management consultant are the same thing, right? I use the terms interchangeably sometimes. But it used to be that you would have a manager and you would never have an artist management consultant. They were kind of frowned upon. But the way the manager gets paid is the manager gets 20% of the artist's gross income, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then if you get some bargaining power down the road, you might be able to, you know, beg and plead with the manager to take 15%, right? But times are changing because now artists have so much power, they can do a lot on their own. They can put out music on their own. They can do a lot of things on their own. So what's happening is that you have that, and then also when records died, you had a lot of A&Rs get fired, and they went into this artist management consultant gig, right? So now you have a situation where if an artist is starting out, or if they don't want a manager, because sometimes you may already be well established and you just don't want a manager, you'll get a management consultant to come in, similar to a project manager, where they'll help you with a particular issue for a certain amount of time, and you establish that amount of time. But now, maybe you are a little bit bigger and you're doing a lot and you're gigging every day or every week, and it's not just doing shows. You have sync placements, so you're getting your music put in TV, music, and commercials. Maybe you got book deals going on. Maybe you're speaking at different places and you're doing a whole lot of different things, and you just really need somebody to manage all of that. That's where the traditional manager comes in. On top of that, because you're a person, the traditional manager is going to really be an integral part of your life. They're going to know, hey, you know, this person has a drinking problem, let's not take them to the bar. Or maybe they have a drug problem. Or maybe they have a problem with, you know, in their family, where, you know, there's something happening and they need to basically give this person a little bit of attention. A consultant may or may not do that, depending on who you work with. But a manager, I think will. And from, you know, managers I've seen and I've, you know, researched, that's what managers really do.
Well, you deal with a lot of individual musicians and things like that on those factors. It'd be interesting to sort of kind of hear how the Maryland Volunteer Lawyers for the Arts offer their services when people are dealing in these managerial creativity, you know. What services can you provide to the individual singer or the individual band who doesn't really quite know? I mean, because you guys are volunteer service.
Yes. The volunteer attorneys actually are very experienced in whatever area of the law that you come to speak to them about. Most of the attorneys have been practicing, you know, a minimum of 5 years up to 30 or 40 years. So when you come there, even though it's a volunteer organization, most of them are working for big firms, have solo practices, work for the government like I do. And so we are, you know, established, but we want to be able to give back to the community. The Maryland Volunteer Lawyers for the Arts, they will set you up with the pro bono attorney, but you have a financial requirement for that. And that's for people who make a certain amount and they'll set you up one-on-one. They send out an email to us every month with a list of issues and artists. And this is all artists, musicians, songwriters, authors, dancers, fine artists, painters, all of that.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. Did that mean just music? That means arts across the board.
Arts across the board. We have some attorneys who they focus directly on music. So they're very versed in working with musicians, with songwriters, with all of that. Now, the thing is, there is a financial requirement, but you can come to the Art Law Clinic, which we give once a month, and you can sign up. And I believe the cost is only $5 to speak with an attorney for 30 minutes. So there is no financial requirement for that. I tell people if they're trying to work through this thing on their own, as far as setting up their business or doing different things, they can come every month and speak with someone for 30 minutes.
Wow.
Some people pay $10 and have an entire hour to speak with someone.
Wow, that's a fantastic service.
Yes, it is.
And if you do not meet the financial requirement and you need to hire an attorney, one of the attorneys definitely there will work with you, but you have to pay them the regular fee. But even if you don't meet the financial requirement, every month you can come in. My specialty is doing contracts, so I review contracts and agreements with photographers, with art, different artists, authors. So that's what I do. But there are other attorneys there that do all kinds of things. And the actual head of the organization, his specialty is music, or his concentration is music. So he helps a lot of musicians and dealing with the licensure and everything that was discussed in the last session. But also he would work in concert with a consultant like Michael. Another service that Maryland Volunteer Lawyers for the Arts offers is that we don't just deal with the legal aspects of the artist, of the musician, of the music. If that same musician has an issue with renting space at a recording studio, or renting space just their personal home or residence, dealing with landlord-tenant issues, dealing with family law issues, all of that, we offer legal advice to artists across the board. So it's not just limited to art issues.
That's great.
Mm.
I have a question for Francine. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, great. Francine, I put this up in another meeting where I think now I'm probably talking to the right people about it. I got a postcard. It's been a little over a year ago. And it's about Spotify, that it says Spotify has used our music in some form of fashion illegally. And so you may be entitled to a payment or other benefits. And I just want to know if you heard. I just don't pursue it. I call up the 800 number and you kind of get a machine and then the run around, and I don't follow suit with it. And so then 6 months gone by, and then I'm like, hey, let me see if anything's going on with this card again. And so I just want to know, have you heard anything about anything like that? Spotify having a class action lawsuit?
I haven't personally heard about it. I was in the last session and I heard the question. But I think the answer that was given was probably right. It's probably a class action lawsuit.
Definitely.
I would suggest, if you need someone to pursue it, MVLA is there for you as well. But I don't know what else to tell you about it. I can't give any legal advice or anything like that. This session is just for informational purposes, but it sounds like that might be what is going on. It's a class action lawsuit.
Oh yeah, I know it's a class action lawsuit because it says that right on the front. Mm-hmm. But just trying to pursue it, and like I said earlier in the other meeting, it may be, I just have a few songs that I've written and got them copywritten, and then all of a sudden later on I get this little card here, And so it's a claim and ID control number, things like that that's on it, and an 800 number. So your services probably is something I may need to visit at some point. But
Right.
like
We have
I
the
said,
art
that
law
last,
clinic.
yeah, like I said in that last meeting, I'm thinking, it may be a matter of just getting $5 or something. So I don't put a lot of time in pursuing it.
Right.
You
And
know.
there's a website on there as well. If
Mhm.
you could look it up on the website and see if there's any information. But definitely, if you want to come to one of the clinics, just register and you'll have a half hour to speak with an attorney about it and possibly get someone to work with you, on it after that.
Okay, did you guys already give out your address where you're located to speak to these attorneys?
I will put information in the chat box. I think that my bio has that information in it, and Steve was saying that at the beginning of the presentation, it's there.
Well, when
Steve,
you first come into the conference.
when you first
And
come to the conference, I
go
put the
down.
information for MVLA on there. But I'll
If you say it one time now, because I'm kind of recording some of this, then I'll just have it if you say it one time.
I'll put it in the chat box.
Okay.
Yeah, the information.
Okay.
All
right.
Fran, on another legal term, the BJA has had a question for the longest time about basically filing for their, I guess it's a 1090. Well, we're an LLC, so it would be I can't think of the term for the registration we have, being an LLC. Anyway, we're trying to figure out whether or not we can or we should be filing for something that we want to produce or sell. It sounds like this agency is the agency that we need to be calling to find out about that.
Yes.
MPLA, that's more, I think if it's the question, I think it is, I think that's more of a tax question.
Yeah, about that 503.
501c3.
Yes.
About what you need to file or how you need to file that.
Right.
Now the attorney, you may get an attorney that knows both, but I know how to draft up and create a 501c3. As far as the tax ramifications and what you need to file, I don't know about that. I would speak with an accountant about that.
So can we call, you guys about that? Can we get in contact with MVLA?
You can, if they have somebody who's a tax attorney that could assist. Okay. They may have someone. So if you call and come to a clinic or want to get matched up with someone, they probably would match you up with a tax attorney or put it out to everybody, in the group, because we get emails once a month, sometimes twice a month, of all the issues, organizations, different things that people need volunteers for. And so if there is a tax attorney that would be able to assist you with that, they could volunteer to help with that. But I don't know anything about tax.
503s and.
Yeah, I know how to create it though. I know how to draft it up and file it and get you, recognized through the IRS as a 501c3 organization. But as far as your tax filing and all of that, I hand that over to the accountant.
Well, that's a wonderful connection because, we've been going around in circles for the last year, and I'm going to get in contact with somebody at your location.
Okay.
Thanks.
I'm going to I'm putting it in now in the chat box.
Hey, Mike, I got a question for you.
Okay.
Being in the business of consulting, being in the rap, the Baltimore Jazz Alliance, basically, the clientele is basically jazz artists. Mm-hmm. What would you say to, after a certain period, you can almost say jazz is kind of, you're either bad or you're badder. Yeah. So what do you say to these musicians that are in I know you said that basically it's been rap and some other things, but what do you say? What would you say to these jazz musicians that are tuned in right now? What kind of counseling would you give them?
Okay, so I work with all genres because the traits of music business applies across the board. So the advice I give to a lot of jazz musicians, I guess would be the same advice I give to any musician, is really start figuring out what do you want out of your music business. You have to really be honest with yourself. Are you good? Are you great? It's not even about being good. You got to be great in order to make it in this business, because there is so much competition. There's competition from other artists, but then there's competition from other parts of the entertainment industry. You're competing with Netflix. Like, do I really need to go pay $20 or $40 to go see you play? Or should I just sit on my couch and watch Netflix, right? So that would be my advice, is really start thinking, okay, how serious are you about this? And then if the answer is, I'm very serious, then you need to invest in your business. Nobody else is going to invest in your business. Nobody else is going to care about your business but you.
So when you say invest, care about, you talking about your talent or your monies?
Both. You got to invest your time and your talent. You got to invest your money. I would recommend, if you have a day job, you should be taking out 5 to 10% of your paycheck and putting it into your business. So if you're going to somebody, so what I see a lot is, oh, I want somebody to invest in me. Oh, great. How much have you invested in yourself? Nothing. Or I've heard, oh, I've invested thousands. Okay, yeah, I got thousands in this room. So what, right? So you have to be able to show that you've put in 20,000, 50,000, 100,000, something close to the amount of money that you're asking for, right? So if you're asking for $100,000, whoever's going to give you $100,000 wants to know, okay, what have you done? What's your business plan? You know, why should I put money into you? And the way you answer that is through your success. And the way you get your success is that you have to put, so money makes money.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and if you go outside of the music industry, you just talk about any other industry, healthcare, or you talk about investment or whatever, people who are entrepreneurs know that. You know, Jeff Bezos, I forget how much money he put into Amazon when it was in his garage. You know, he put the money in. People will take $10,000 or they'll get a $10,000 loan from their family member and they'll put it in their business. We talked about the shoemaker earlier, to go make shoes, and they grow their business. So it's really your time, your effort, your money. You know, it's a big thing. It's not easy. I had a conversation with a young lady just recently who mentioned that she wanted to do, it wasn't music, it was AI, artificial intelligence. And she was in high school, and, you know, she said she wants to work for herself. And I talked about, okay, well, you're working for yourself. You got to figure out how you're going to eat, how you're going to get paid. You know, all those things that as a musician, you already know. And turned out it wasn't for her, you know? So that's why I say, you know, that's the number one big piece of advice I'd give you, is that if you're already in this business, or if you've already been gigging and, you know, you've been doing it for a while and it hasn't been working out, you need to figure out, hey, am I going to change what I've been doing and do something else so I can get a different result? Or am I not going to do this anymore? If you're just starting out, you need to understand that there is a lot of competition in this business. And it's not like how it used to be, where you might be able to go do a gig and somebody discovers you. People aren't doing that anymore. Labels, if you're looking for a label deal, labels are looking for people who are already established because they want the money that you're already making.
So when you, I'm sorry, I got so many questions. When you say already established, what do you mean already established? And when you say success, are you talking about success in creating original material? Or are you talking about being a good cover band? Or, you know, how do you categorize success?
So this is what I categorize as success, but I think there's also what's more important is how the artist categorizes success. So that's why I started off. If you just want to play shows, that's fine. If that's what is success to you, is just playing shows, then you can go ahead and just playing shows. But
so would you work with them as a consultant if all they wanted to be is a cover band?
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. Now, if you want to progress through the music industry, I think you need to be more than a cover band. Matter of fact, I would even make the recommendation that you transition from a cover band and you start making original music, because it's the original music that makes the money. There used to be two ways that an artist made most of their money. And it used to be shows, which you're not doing anymore. You can still do it, and I have some tips on that. But you're really not doing shows anymore. And sync, which is still happening, right? So sync is synchronization licensing. It may have been talked about in one of the previous discussions, but basically that's getting music on TV, film, and commercials.
Right.
All right. So when I talk about success as an artist, I'm talking about that artist who has made the decision to become a professional musician. Somebody who I know, I think it was Dan or Dave mentioned that Dan, yeah, he mentioned that there's different royalties. So you have mechanical royalties, your sync royalties, your performance royalties. You have theater royalties. So let's say you compose a song for a play. That's a whole different royalty.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if we talked about that. So I look at it as if you've made the decision to be a professional musician, you have to exploit all the opportunity, exploit in a good way, meaning use, exploit all the opportunities that you have as an artist to make money, and then some.
So Fran, coming back to the legal perspective again, what Mike is saying is exploit yourself, do your thing, put yourself out there. But when you're doing that, a lot of people have unfortunately taken the bad end of the stick in doing that. But that's when, after he's given that recommendation to that person, and this person feels like they're talented, the Prince type of people. You know, you go to Warner Brothers, not with just an album, you go with 10 albums. Then they need to come to your organization and say, okay, I need some help. And that's what you guys provide.
Hopefully, if they're at that level, they don't qualify for the VLA, but
for the free advice, huh?
For the free advice, but they could match you up with somebody who could take care of it, could help you with it. I know the labels and the different music organizations, they have their own attorneys. Make sure you have your own attorney. Don't, you never know how people are. They could be very honest, but if they have an attorney, you make sure you have one too.
Goodness me, it's a very, very serious business.
Can I touch on that for a second as well? I highly agree with that. And I would also say that when you are ready to sign with the manager, that you have your attorney look at that agreement. So every agreement that the artist signs, they need to go pass it by an attorney.
Especially if you're signing, right?
Yes, if you sign anything, a production agreement, a management agreement, an engineer agreement, I don't care what type of agreement it is. If it's an agreement that, if it's like a thick stack of papers, which a lot of these agreements are, because they're throwing a whole bunch of stuff in there, they're hoping that you don't see, go take it to an attorney. Even if it's a one-pager, it may be better for you to take it to MVLA and let them just look over it just so you're safe.
Right.
You know, yeah. you hear about so many musicians who were on hard times, who somebody threw a document in their face when they were nobody and they signed it. And then 10 years later, they became somebody. So they got kind of caught in a bad situation. They can't get out.
Correct. And we had a mother and a daughter come to MVLA. I'm learning more of the music contracts because I do contracts, but the music contracts are different. So, me and one of the other attorneys who's very versed in the music contracts, we looked over this agreement that I don't know if it was her agent or manager or someone wanted to record her songs. And this little girl, I probably will be seeing her. We'll probably be seeing her, later. She's very talented. But when we read the agreement, and I could tell, not even knowing, about music agreements, that the guy was trying to take her for everything. So he saw the talent as well. And we were like, no, don't sign this. And we made sure that she got hooked up with the guy at MVLA, because they did meet the financial requirement at that time. But I would think if she pursues this in her career, she won't be qualifying for MVLA for long. She's very talented, but we got her matched up with the organizer, Adam, who is really, good with the music contracts. But I could look at it and see he was basically, trying to take a huge percentage, for years off of her music. And it just didn't look right. It didn't feel right, didn't look right. So I would say, I know we're talking about, in some respects, when you make it big, but even if you're, grab tissue, I'm sorry. Even if you are just starting out, or you're thinking about, making this something serious, and you don't have a lot, but that your goal is to have a lot, and your goal is to be successful, make sure you start out with the right support at the beginning.
Absolutely.
And don't look at it as, oh, it's another bill or anything like that. It's an investment in you and an investment in your career, because I do know people who, they just said, I need help. And I'm one of them with my business. At first, you look at how much it costs to get a consultant, to get a coach, to hire somebody to do something. But in the long run, you save money, because, you don't want to mess up and cost yourself a whole bunch of money and have to go back and have somebody fix it for you.
While we got a couple of minutes, can you kind of talk about the Fran Diggs arts and entertainment business? I mean, that's your baby.
It has nothing to do with music, but we play music.
But it does have something to do with entertainment and art, right?
Yes, it does. I'm an artist as well. So I paint on glass, all different kinds of glass, different types of artwork on glass. And I also, just for the fun of it, I do paint parties, where I teach people to paint on glass. Now, I haven't done any of that in 2020. And so I thank God for my day job. But I teach people to do that. And within the last couple of weeks, I've had, about 6 people ask, when you're going to start back up. I'm a little nervous with the virus uptick, so I'm holding off on that. But I do abstract artwork. I'm dabbling now in watercolor, so I can do I want to do watercolor portraits. And I also do consultation with other artists. Like, I love the marketing of art, and helping other artists get, sell more artwork. I think I do better with that than me actually painting, and because I don't have a lot of time, but me actually painting and selling my own artwork. But I study up on marketing, business. So I've helped other artists sell more artwork, be more personable. It's more about relationships and developing relationships and finding your clientele. Some people rely on family and friends, for their business. You might could start out with that, but you need to market to your target market. And there's different ways to do that. So that's what I like to help people do in my arts and entertainment business.
It sounds like that's a cross between you and Mike. Mike mentioned a whole bunch about consulting and giving people the right direction. And
yes,
I see why you guys are connected. Fran, can I sneak in congratulations on your promotion?
Yes, you can. Thank you.
Fran and
my day job is good. Let's just say that. They appreciate me.
and just got better.
Yes, it did.
And Mike, man, what are you involved in right now as far as helping new musicians? You got any projects going on?
So during the height of COVID, I was actually giving out free consultation sessions. But right now, I'm still doing a lot of work with the Recording Academy, moving different programs through Congress to help benefit artists. Have the Mid-Atlantic Music Business Society page on Facebook. So it's just a place where people can go, and if they need to connect with somebody else in the music industry, they can. If they have questions, they can throw it out there, and people, it's people are there that they can help answer it. And of course, you know, I'm still working with artists, helping them kind of navigate the waters in the music industry and help them become successful in however they define success.
And you're
Are you, excuse me, are you located in Baltimore, Maryland?
I'm located in Odenton, so I'm not
Okay.
too far from Baltimore.
might as well say Baltimore.
Yeah.
Odenton, Hellthorpe, Linthicum, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, by the way, Reen, I'm not sure if you saw it, but I posted an article from Digital Music News about your class action lawsuit. It looks
Yeah.
like Spotify paid out the money, but whoever they paid it out to hasn't paid it out yet. But you can look at that.
Oh, well, I gotta check that out, man.
Mike, can you put your email address on the chat so that maybe Renee can reach out to you?
Sure.
Yes, that would be great. Thank you.
Man, you guys, we can't lose the connection that we have with you guys because we have so many musicians that are involved with the Baltimore Jazz Alliance that are fantastic, fabulous entertainers and performers and players, but they might not have the advice that you guys are letting them know. Don't
Yes.
sign anything unless you run it through people who can actually give you an honest opinion. You know, be serious about your marketing of who you are and your performance abilities and things like that. Like Mike said, maybe start thinking about more in a writing perspective instead of just being a cover band, depending on whether this thing is a hobby or whether it's about business. And Mike said, every time you mention business, that means money. I mean, I could be quoting you wrong, Mike, but you did say that, right?
Yeah, every time you talk about business, it's either you spending money or you making money. There's a guy, I wish I could remember his name so I could attribute it to the correct person. But he said, every time your music is played, somebody's getting paid. And if you're not getting paid, and trust me, it's happened to me where I see, hey, my music is out there and I'm not getting paid off of it. It's like, what happened? What T's didn't you cross, or I's didn't you dot?
And when you say your music, you are actually talking about your music.
Yeah, music that I wrote, bands that I was with, groups I was with. And, you know, it's like you put the music out, and I'm talking about years ago. But, you know, there's music out there that I created, and it went overseas and it sold, but never saw a check for it. And I don't want that to happen to other people.
Man, you guys need to send us a stack of business cards. So when we go and we meet with our musician, you know, companions, we can say, contact them, contact them, contact them. You know what I'm saying? Because this information is so valuable to so many people, and Father Time and Mother Time, you know, they don't joke around. 1 minute you're 20, next you're 40, next you're, what I'm talking about. Next is too late to even be concerned with it. So they need to do this while they're young. Guys, listen, I want to thank both of you all for showing up. One, for zooming in during this pandemic. This is something new for us, but it seems like I'm almost ready to say we did it, but you know, I'm not going to say it yet.
Oh, before we leave, can I throw one more thing out? You asked about what am I doing. I forgot to mention, I'm actually doing free reviews of music. And I'm putting it on my site to help people get more exposure. And the key is that if I like it 100%, I'll review it. So I'm not saying anything negative, so you don't have to worry about, I'll say, hey, you know, this guy sucked on keys, you know, so it's all you know, 100% positive, but if I don't like it 1%, then I won't review it.
Give us that information, please. And Francine, we have your information and the agency that you're working with. You know, I don't know why I can't keep my paperwork together, but MVLA, man,
Yes.
thank you guys for showing up and participating. I really appreciate it.